The October minutes, they're not online.
They haven't been approved yet.
It doesn't matter, they're draft records.
I'm happy to email it to you if you want a copy of it.
I asked Ms. Ross for them.
No, I.
Hello.
You're on speaker, so be careful what you say.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that 5.7 is 5.
You're on speaker
Oh, like for everybody in the
for
world?
everybody in the world.
Oh.
Hello, that's what.
Can everybody hear Elizabeth?
Yes.
All right, well, this is, you guys go ahead and do your job. I'm gonna just read what I'm reading.
Roll call. Oh, we can wait next, sorry. Okay, roll call.
Good. Mr. Jameson,
Here.
Mr. Hendricks, absent. Ms. Ross.
Here.
Mr. Waller,
Here.
Mr. Lawson, absent. And Mr. Woodrow, Ms. Mollis,
Here.
and Ms. Bush here. So we have five present and 2 absent.
Thank you. Welcome, Ms. Mullins. We're excited to have you.
Thank you.
Public comments. We know mud is an issue, and we're gonna have a good discussion about that in a little bit, but everybody who signed up is welcome to speak, and, just Chris, wanna go first?
Sure. My name's Chris Kirby, I live on Mount Rock Bend. And, of course, we know the mud is bad the last few days, so I brought y'all a little sand. This is what's running off of the road, washed off within the first 8 minutes. The first 8 minutes of the rain was washing off into the creek. Here's one that you can look, that's one we just shook up. And that's one that's been settling for about 2 hours. That's pretty nasty.
It is. Yeah.
I just want y'all to know that that's going in the river, and within 2 hours, that's what's settled. That's y'all's legacy currently. That's y'all's legacy with this issue with land.
You'll be welcome to go around for you, Chris.
You're more than welcome to.
Are you done, Chris?
We're done.
We got a
Well, I mean,
video
are
there.
you, but, are you done?
Well, for the lack of not having a visual up here, Brian has a video we'd like to share with y'all
But he recorded.
of this same particular issue where it
Okay.
was extracted from. So.
Do you have that on your phone?
Mhm.
Will you text it to me right now?
Sure, give us your number.
Yeah.
This is just a couple of minutes. Within 10 minutes, here's the next portion of that.
123. Go ahead, what's your phone number?
865-591-4446.
See how much is in it?
And where is that exactly?
That's directly across from the landfill. This is Essex storage,
That goes right into that creek there.
Yeah, I see it. Thank you.
and this is, that's how much it is in.
Will you text that to me as well?
I'll have him do that, he's got it all.
There's 2 videos within 3 minutes apart. And
Okay.
you'll see the amount flowing into the creek.
Okay.
You can see it here going right straight into the stream. Try them down. And then just within,
Will this go in there?
That, yes, got it, yeah.
Did you text that yet, Chris?
No.
I come by over there and it's gone,
So Chris, you have anything else to say?
No, that's
Okay.
it, pal.
the video.
Mr. Byers, you're up.
Yeah, he doesn't tell the truth.
well, my thing is, Brian Byers here, I live on Stockton Valley Road. I'm just over the mud, I'm looking for that long-term resolution, and we seem to be dragging our feet on it. And we need to come up with a solution, because enough is enough. I mean, I'm here to do what I can do to try to help the community, but it's hard to do it whenever we don't have supporting, whenever the solid waste board doesn't support the community. So it just seems tiring whenever we send pictures, send emails, we don't get no response. I mean, I don't know how many countless times I've emailed you, Adam, you don't respond, you don't call, you don't acknowledge. And I personally don't think you deserve the chair of the solid waste board if you're not going to at least acknowledge us. I mean, it's been an ongoing thing, and you don't text, you don't call, you don't check in, you don't do nothing. So I personally would like to see you replaced.
Thank you. Billy?
Yes, sir. I moved out about 5 years ago off 72, and I own a detail shop in West Knoxville. And I have a $100,000 truck that I bought, and I try to keep it clean. So I protected it with this film that we carry, and we do a lot of clients out this way. And what's happening is, as we're trying to protect these cars, the stuff that's on the road is actually a chemical that is actually messing up the PPF, we call it film, that we put on these cars. So the investment that these guys are putting in their cars, trying to protect them, it's not working. And I got a couple more guys that actually live off the road that's gonna be coming here to talk about that. Like I spent $10,000 on mine to stop that. Don't work. My truck's out there right now, and I left it on there for 3 days 3 days ago when it happened. And I was hoping there'd be some daylight so I can show you guys, but it's all over my truck, you know? We work hard for our money. That's where I'm at. And I put that on all his cars.
How much is it, apartment general?
Shoot, 10,500. And he got 3 of his cars done. So that's where I'm at. So, thanks for hearing me out.
Thank you. Texting this video to Elizabeth, Chris, thank you. Ms. Hunter?
I want to follow up on a couple of items.
Sure.
Back in October, I believe, you were supposed to have a bid opening. Matter of fact, I went to the county office building that day, not knowing the status of whether the meeting was gonna be held or not, and I had a bad accident. And I'd like to know what happened with that bid opening, because it was supposed to be opened after the workshop, which wasn't held, and we weren't told about it.
Well, no bids were received, so there was no bid opening.
Well, I didn't know that. Nobody knew that. We weren't told that. There was nothing on the workshop, on the agenda, on the website that said the meetings had been canceled, the bid meeting had been canceled. That's unheard of, that, you know, there isn't some kind of a status on something like that. I've been to bid openings, and it's always opened at the time that it's supposed to be, And if there's no information or no one complied or nobody sent anything, we're also told that. This was very unusual, and I don't appreciate it one bit, because I would have been at the county office building that afternoon. The other thing is, I would like some follow-up with the notice of deficiencies. I have requested numerous times to see the responses. They're not online, and I still am waiting to see those records. The other thing is, I'd like to know the status of the NOV, the most recent NOV from the Water Division. Has there been a meeting, and what has resulted in that? The other thing I'd like to talk about, the various, not only the portion of the contract that has to do with the mud on the road, the litter, also the buzzard situation. I'd like to know the status of the dirt issue, because it's my understanding that the dirt has been depleted. By now, we should be out of airspace, and I'd like to know what's going on there. And then, with the contract in general, there are other issues that need to be addressed. According to the 2007 contract, the contractor, which is Republic, is responsible for taking commercially reasonable steps to provide 24-hour site security 365 days a year to avoid unauthorized entry or facility misuse. We have no security. I have reported in the past about the gate being unlocked. Others have seen that also. But if there were cameras there, we could see whether the trucks, which trucks are not complying with getting their wheels washed or tracking mud out. And we could also see the actual pictures instead of depending on Mr. Byers or someone else to do it. We should have cameras there in the front, anywhere where we should have security. And that is not being complied with regards to the contract. I think that the issue of the dirt leaving the landfill is a big issue, because we shouldn't have the kind of issues that we're talking about now. And they don't seem to be getting better, they're getting worse. And I haven't seen any or heard of any permanent solutions. And I think that's what the community is all upset about, is that, you know, it's like Groundhog Day over and over and over again. And there has to be a solution. Republic makes a lot of money off this landfill. They're getting their expansion. They're going to be able to do business for 10 more years. And this problem cannot go on for 10 more years. So I'm hoping that you're listening and that you take action. Enough is enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
How come you guys don't invest in better equipment?
Such as?
Something that cleans up the road quicker and better and faster. Because when the guy's going down the road, a lot of times you're just kicking it over and he comes back and pushes it this way. It just goes back and forth. Every time.
Talk to Mr. Hollenshed here after the meeting if you know of
Okay.
something better, because
Awesome.
that's a Republic thing. If you know something better, I mean, please,
Okay.
he's open ears. Yes, ma'am.
I apologize for not signing in. I
Oh, you're
think
fine.
I hassled Mayor Bradshaw.
Please
my name's
hassle him
Lisa-
some more. He needs it.
I tried. My name's Lisa Benton. I know you know me from
Yeah.
other meetings. I live off of Huffine Road. My husband and I built a house there about 2 years ago. I'm speaking directly to Republic now, but you're not doing your job. I mean, that 72 is my front yard, basically. When I drive into town every day, I drive past 72 and I drive by the landfill. And I have to take my car to the car wash on a regular basis because that red mud sticks to it. And that's, you know, private ownership thing for me. The trash is disgusting. If your trash was in your front yard, sir, you'd be picking it up every day. I don't understand why the street sweeper, who spends time on his phone while he's street sweeping, doesn't get out of his darn truck and pick up trash every day. If he did that, we would not be here right now with regard to the litter in front of the landfill. But they're not doing their part with a quarter mile from one end and to the other end, and I would ask that if we ever renegotiate the contract, that we negotiate it to further out. A quarter of a mile is not far enough. I don't know who lives in front of that Honda, the house in front of the Honda manufacturing, but those poor people, the trash in front of their house is horrible. I feel bad for them. So I am asking you, I am begging you at this point, after doing this a year, my first meeting was a year ago, please find a solution to pick up the trash, at least in accordance with the contract, every day. It's not too much to ask. If someone was out there 15 or 20 minutes a day, it'd be cleaned up. I would do it if I felt like it would be safe for me, but it's not safe. But you guys get paid to keep that thing clean. And I am really asking you to do something about it, because again, I'm gonna say it again, if that were your front yard and you had to drive by that every day, you'd make sure that it was clean. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Is that it?
Yeah, I got one thing.
Yes, sir.
I come through every day to, I just live right below it, I actually own the property that butts up to the landfill too. This man here was talking about better equipment, this brush that they're using on the road, it's doing nothing but making slush. It doesn't pick anything up, all it does is make the matters worse, actually. And I've noticed, just from every day coming through back and forth, and some of these people that's here a lot more than me, I don't have time a lot of times to come, but I know that when I come by that, he's talking about this mud in the creek and stuff. My house sits and I look at that creek. When I was, supposed to say 20, 25 years ago, that creek was over waist deep. I can walk across that creek in a pair of tennis shoes and it'll barely cover them now from just the feel, all the mud that's coming down that creek, filling the whole creek up going into Watchford Lake. So I know they talked to TDEC, and I know they talked to EPA and all that, and they say it's clear. I just don't understand how that's clear. I'm actually the fire chief for the county, and as far as debris on the road, when I go out on the wreck, I gotta make sure that there's debris that's clear of the road before I clear that scene. There's debris between my house and Loudon every day, and nobody's cleaning it up. I think that there's, a good solution, I think, they come and they wet the road when the road's dry. That's the worst time. If they're gonna wash it in the creek, why don't wash it in the creek when it's raining? Even when it's dry, you can come up through there, and if they put water down, it's still a mud mess, even when you come up through there, on a dry day. So why don't we pave to the top of the hill? I'm sure it's been mentioned in the past, and let some of this mud fly off in the landfill before we get to that. We wouldn't even have to have machines on 72, on Highway 72 at that point, if we could get some of the mud off coming down and leave it on the property. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Anyone else? Mayor? You good?
Good.
I know Mr. Bush sent out the minutes from the October meeting well over a month ago. So is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We've had the audit for a while. Here is the future events, is what I finally figured out with Ms. Murphy. Read over that, we'll come back to it. Part two, do you have an update on the part two for us, where that is, what the timeline looks like from here on out?
I feel like with where TDEC is with the state, with TDEC is with the application and the permit, and what we're being told, we'll probably expect a document the first or second week of January.
So I believe the public comments ends December 23rd.
23rd.
Then TDEC will respond to those public
Yes.
comments, and then the commissioner will make a final determination first couple weeks in January. Okay. Do you want to, go ahead.
So I was just wondering, and so you were saying that you would probably go ahead and start work toward that expansion, or are you not, or not? Are you waiting?
Immediately.
Oh, you were, as soon as you get that.
Yes.
Okay, you aren't gonna start, I thought at one point you were gonna try to do some things beforehand, even
We've
though.
done as much as TDEC will allow us.
Oh, okay,
Technically, TDEC will not let us construct prior to permit.
okay.
But there are some things that TDEC has allowed us to do, prior.
Getting ready for it.
Yes, we will begin construction as soon as possible after they issue the permit.
One thing that, so we'll meet, this is not on the agenda, but we'll meet January 16th. Will be our first meeting in January. How do y'all feel about the quarterly workshops, or how, I mean, what's everybody's thought on that process? And I'll have a calendar for us to vote on in February. Or in January, sorry. Do we still wanna do quarterly workshops, or workshops beneficial?
I think they are,
So quarterly?
so quarterly is good, and, you know, cause when we had that one that was like 2 hours long, and it really helped with the next meeting, cause
Yeah.
everybody did their discussion and everything at the workshop and got that kind of aired.
Okay.
I think it's a good idea.
I think it is, like I made mention to you,
Could you speak up, please?
yeah, I'm sorry, I'll try to speak louder.
Did you want me to repeat what I said?
How
or-
about yeah, if you could
Okay.
turn on the microphone, so that would be
I don't know
helpful.
if they're on or not.
That's up to them.
Well, okay, I think it's a good idea to have them. There. I think it's a good idea to have the workshops quarterly. I think when we have had them, they have been very, very helpful in preparing for the next meetings. I do understand that when we canceled that one, there was not a lot, we weren't in charge of the meeting that it was coming up from, because that was gonna be TDEC was responsible for that. So, so there couldn't have been a whole lot of discussion because TDEC wouldn't have been there, so.
Okay, well then we'll just plan to meet January 16th as our next meeting, and then we'll
February would be.
approve accounts. So you want to do the February for the first workshop? Okay. So February 13th be the workshop.
Yeah, my only question on the January one was with what's happening with, where the approval process is, the information from TDEC, and that's supposed to be coming back early January. Is that something that we're gonna need to have the meeting potentially at that point in time to review anything to make sure we don't cause any delay?
At this point, it's out of our hands. It's just waiting on TDEC's approval. So I don't think we have any more, am I wrong? We don't have anything else to vote on our end. It's 100% TDEC at this point.
That's what I wanna make sure.
Let's talk mud. Larry, I know you've been getting a lot of phone calls. You want to start us off?
Like Brian and most of the people that's speaking, I travel that road every day. And I'm like you, I've got cars and trucks that basically the undercarriage is practically ruined from the debris that comes off of that. The past few weeks, I have been digging in, trying to help come up with a fix for this problem. This problem that we have with the mud is not a quick fix. It's not a quick fix. It's gonna cost. There's gonna be some expense in it. But I think it's the duty of this commission, a duty of our contractor, to put all emphasis on this issue, moving forward as quick as possible. And we're contractually obligated, they are contractually obligated, and we need to come up with an immediate solution. And I guess, Dave, you just wanna talk any about that now, or how we wanna do this?
Whatever you all decide.
Okay.
I want to speak for a couple of minutes about maybe some misunderstandings.
Okay,
I appreciate your comments about the litter in the road. Teresa, just very quickly, will you explain your daily procedure with the litter?
We have, you talking about the out front?
Yes, picking up.
We have laborers, right now it's hard to find laborers, I go through HR Solutions, to get temp labor to pick up along the highway. People just don't wanna work, so it's really difficult for me to pull an operator off I mean, I know it's important, but we do travel up and down that road, and pick up litter, you know. If it takes me going out there doing it myself, it'll get done.
I want to continue with this. We have and I want to be blunt, a substandard wheel wash in that landfill. The predecessors thought that would be good enough and did put in the wheel wash. We have a problem in that landfill with drivers, they're driving around the wheel wash. And of course, it's up to the managers.
I'll address that in a moment.
You will, okay.
Yes.
It's up to them to manage that. At the end of the day, whatever happened, we got mud in the road. Till we get out of the mud, we're gonna continue to talk about this problem. I've been addressing this since 2007. Way back in when. I've sat on this commission prior to me sitting on it now, this term. We talked about it then. We've talked about it now. And I think this commission is ready, willing, and able, and I think we're financially able, because it's gonna take some assistance, I think, from the Solid Waste Commission in order to address this, because the public is what's driving through. It ain't the sweeper truck that's driving through the mud that we're worried about. It's Brian driving through it in his truck. Bill going through it in his car, his wife's car. Now, I'm saying all of this to say this should be, and I hope will be, this commission's focus right now on the immediate problem. I get calls every day, not from just the same people. I meet people in the store, they know I'm sit on the solid waste. Guess what our conversation's about? It's mud in the road. I am sick of talking about it. 2007 to right now. So I hope that this commission, and they may run me off tomorrow, but okay.
I'm going with you.
You going with me? But we gotta get the handle on this mud. And there's some fixes, and I think Dave and his team will talk about those. But that's all I got to say. I hope I have.
I went out to the landfill in November of this year, and with Miss Murphy, and saw a number of things that were disturbing. There was no litter fence at the top where they were dumping, and there was just litter everywhere. Has that litter fence been installed? Like, what are we doing with litter fence? I know we're moving around.
Yeah, we've been moving the litter fence with us.
Okay. Speaking of moving around, do you want to talk about the airspace issue at the landfill and why you're having to move around real quick?
Whenever that needs to be
Just
brought up.
bring that, let's discuss it right now and get that out there too.
We work for the Loudon Landfill Commission. We're working through a permit expansion right now. That permit expansion can only be submitted by the Landfill Commission. I work for you guys. We work, Republic. When I say I, I'm talking about Republic. That permit, the expansion documents to allow this expansion to happen, this all should have been taken care of a year plus ago. The landfill's not full. The landfill still has airspace.
We're working every day to accept trash and accept material. We are very tight now because of where we are in the landfill trying to accept material for disposal. With that said, because of the delays in the permit and where we are, we're having to move our working face every 3 or 4 days to try and create new space to accept garbage for the landfill commission. We're not building a permanent pad right now. And that's a problem because it doesn't allow us to get as much rock in place at that point, and we're moving to the next space. This is a 120-day problem. We expect the landfill to have a permit in the first or second week of January. Then we're gonna build. This is not excuses, just a statement of fact. We're gonna build a landfill expansion in January and February, and that's the worst time of year to try and build something. But we're gonna do it because we have to, for all of us. So we're gonna make that happen, but because of where we're trying to dump right now, what we're trying to get done, and the doors are staying open, that's not a problem. We don't have a permanent working face built where we're staying there for 3 weeks, something like that, to push the trash to the different areas that we need it to go. We're trying to find sliver fills to take care of that material, and it's not a permanent solution to where we are. And we're seeing, I'm not arguing with anybody, I agree. But this problem has been exacerbated because of the length of time it's taken to get this expansion document. I hope that makes sense.
It does, but when we were out there, we, like I said, we saw the litter blowing around, so the litter fence is moving around as you go to different dump sites. And also at the top, I know it's hard to keep up with gravel, so I know one thing we discussed was the geotextile at the top. So what can we do about that to get some geotextile up there to move around to these different dumping
Teresa's
locations?
gonna speak to that in a moment.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and speak about that.
Yes, it's up there. It's up there. We have this roll, it's kind of a basic, it's kind of a, I don't know, it's like a fabric or, it holds the rock in place better so the mud, it doesn't kind of swallow up the rock, so that's gonna hopefully help us with, having cleaner rock, basically.
And how long have you been using that geotextile up there?
We just brought a roll up yesterday, so.
And then I know coming up and down, there's 2 different grades almost of road. So I know we discussed it that day. Is there any reason we can't regrade the road for safer elevations that matches the other sides and also use the geogrid there to stabilize the road and reduce mud conditions?
We're trying to use you see the different grades there because if it was on the same, and I'm gonna get to something else in a second that happened today. These are different grades because we want the outbound traffic using that outbound lane and the inbound traffic using the lower lane because that outbound traffic tries to force into the wheel wash. And that's the reason you see 2 grades in that roadway right there. We had an incident today. The roads were taken care of today. The road was fine today. We had an incident.
Not washed off yesterday.
We had an incident in our, we had an incident around lunch where we had a couple of trucks not use the wheel wash and exit around. We did not have someone up washing the tires on us. I understand that, but those operators of those vehicles have to use that wheel wash in these conditions. They did not. They got out on the road. We immediately took care of the opportunity and fixed it. I'm going to ask right now of the landfill commission, I agree with you. If we catch a driver not using the wheel wash when the wheel wash is active, because there are times that the wheel wash is not active, dry conditions where you don't want to use that water. But if we catch an operator of a vehicle not driving around that wheel wash when it is operational and available for use, I want to ban them from that site because they are not coming up with our what we're trying to get done for Loudon County. And we're in a very I'll admit to everyone in this room, we are in a trying situation right now with where we're trying to place garbage and how we're trying to manage this site because this permit has been delayed. And I need the help of the commission, I need the help of every driver coming in across those scales and exiting that place to help me by using that wheel wash when that wheel wash is operational. And I hope you all will allow us to say, nope, you're not coming back if you don't use that wheel wash.
I'm gonna add to his comment here. I've been down there and monitored trucks coming out. Loudon City, Lenore City, Republic trucks, they're everyone guilty. They don't like the wheel wash. They like to go around it. Now, what this does by him, wanting to do that, requesting an opportunity to do that, that puts the pressure back on the company. It's like the tarping of a trailer. No different. Trash comes out of the trailer, the container that is not tarped. Same way with the wheel wash. They come down the hill, they bypass around, they run in the lower drop, they get back over, they go out, and the next thing you know, he got up to 30 miles an hour and stuff's flying out. I follow him all the way to Love's truck stop. Little white slivers of paper. That's probably the worst. But trucks are supposed to, there's a tarp law in Tennessee. It's supposed to be mandatory. Everybody should abide by it. I don't know why they won't. The wheel wash is aggravating. I understand it takes a little bit of time and it's hard on a vehicle. But the wheel wash has got to be implemented and done. I think this is a good recommendation from Republic.
Is there an SOP of when it is on and when it's off? And, you know, when I was there in November, it looked like it was full of mud. It should have been cleaned out more regularly, maybe. I don't know if that's something we need to look at as well.
We are, yes, I won't argue that.
Okay.
Brian's got his hand up.
I'd like to add a comment to his statement. I understand we're running out of airspace and we're having to move dumps around, and it's been tight. I talked to Teresa about it. She explained it to me. But this problem's been going on way before we run out of airspace. So that's just an excuse. I don't buy that one bit. And I'm gonna make another comment to that wheel wash. We can fine them the first time. We can ban them the second time. I agree to that. But there again, like Ms. Hunter said, we need that security system put in place, those cameras put in place at that wheel wash, cause they can't sit and babysit those trucks. If she can't get nobody to pick up trash, they ain't gonna have nobody down there to babysit them wheel washes and the pressure washer. So I think the security system needs to be put in place to monitor that hillside, to monitor that wheel wash. I know they have us down there to scale, but they need to have it out there at that roadway, monitoring that road. You can see, them cameras and them pictures with a date stamp do not lie. So if they go by that, it's in that contract anyway, so go ahead and fulfill their duty to the contract and get one thing off their back, especially if they're wanting to be there for 10 more years, or however long the contract is good for.
Ms. Murphy, do you?
That's all I'd like to add.
Thank you, Brian. Ms. Murphy, you have anything to discuss since we are this far in?
At this point, I do have something I think the commission should be clear about. A couple things. Number one, Mr. Hollins had stated that, quote, "we work for the commission." That is not true. Sandspec Republic has a contract. They are the operator. They are not an employee. They don't, quote, "work for the commission." That is a very misleading statement and sounds like somehow the commission governs their work. They do not. Republic Sandtech has the responsibility of fulfilling their contractual relations, or responsibility. And those responsibilities are very clear about keeping the road free of debris. And just in the last 3 months, I've counted a minimum of 7 to 9 significant violations of that obligation. The commission should also be aware that section 12.4 of the original contract, which maybe I'll stand corrected on this, but I believe it still is in place and was not altered by the later amendment, that section presumes that there can be fines or penalties assessed by the commission or any other governing authority, and that Sandtech Republic has to pay them. They're responsible to pay that fine. They can do it under protest, but that they are responsible for it. That's the way I read that section. So sections 5.7 and 5.8 of the original contract speak to their obligations. 12.4 speaks to fines or penalties that the contractor has to pay. So I would caution the commission about taking responsibility off of Sandtech Republic's plate. I keep saying Sandtech Republic because Republic, I believe, owns Sandtech. Revenue for Republic in 2023, they are a $15 billion a year company. And so the commission is not contractually in a position to do someone else's job, basically. And the cost and time is on Republic Sandtech, not on the commission. So I think that should be kept in mind while the commission is trying to work out a solution. But maybe if the commission decides it's time to levy a fine, get standard operating procedures, geogrid, whatever suggestions up on top before you even get to the wash, those things can all be implemented on a temporary movable basis to stop the violations. Like, no one has to wait 120 days. And that's my suggestion about what to keep in mind as you're discussing options.
Thank you. Thoughts down here on this end of the table?
So do we need to talk about cameras and security?
Well, yes, I'm not opposed to cameras, keeping an eye on 72, so that way we can always see what's going on.
And the wheel wash, too.
The wheel wash as well. I'll get with the county IT department and see what we can look at. So do we actually want to have a workshop January 9th?
I would,
That would be a good idea.
Let's do a January 9th workshop, and then we'll discuss cameras, the option of fines, and then get an update on the geotech tile, see how that's working. And is that just at the top, or is there a way to put some on the way down as well? What are we looking at for that geotech?
Right now it's on the roads.
Are they dumping off of that as well, or are they still dumping out of mud?
I mean, it's rock, it's a rock pad, but when it gets rainy, I mean, we've thrown over $40,000 worth of rock on it just in December alone, so.
Yeah.
How much? You said that'd be a rock.
Over $40,000 worth.
Well, I know is this geotile, I mean, it's like a grid, is that what it is, what you're talking?
It's kind of like a fabric. It just,
Oh.
it keeps the mud down, but it allows the water to come up.
Mhm.
So it's not sinking the rock into the mud.
Because they have those grids that you can put down, and that also holds, you know, they're kind of thick, they're like that, but there is an underlayment that has to go down as well. But that holds them in place, and you put the rock in there, and then it, you know, it kind of holds everything in place as well. I don't know if you looked at that.
Elizabeth, when
I'm not
we talk about geotech, are you talking about a fabric or more of a?
That sounds like a fact.
Are you talking about more of a fabric, or are you thinking about more of a grid type plastic?
They have all kinds of commercial grade geogrid that can be purchased for a temporary roadway up on the top that would hold dirt, mud, allow water to filter through, and what all the choices are, I'm sure Ms. Ross could identify those, but I have seen at other places that it's a commercial grade geogrid. It's not fabric.
It's not fabric, that's
They
right.
use them in parking lots, they use them for roadways, they're very accessible and not hard to find, move them around, etc.
Yeah, the companies that put it down, because we looked at one of them, so.
Chances are you will lose the geofiber once you're done dumping off of it at each site, right? It's not reusable. Right. So whatever they put down to dump off of at this point in time, I've heard several things, geotech, wood chips maybe, gravel put down on top of that, trying to hold the base. But if they're moving from site to site, that expense, which that's another item, but it's an expense, if that fixes the problem to keep the truck out of the mud. And you gotta remember, if they're just dumping on the pad, they gotta turn around and get in position to get to the pad. So they gotta be on rock there somewhat too, correct, Teresa? Folks, we gotta fix this problem. We don't need to leave here tonight till we got some direction to get us out of the immediate problem. And the immediate problem is mud in the road every day. Geotech, gravel, wood chips, I mean, you got plenty of wood chips, right?
No.
No.
Wood chips. Actually I ordered 4 53-foot walking floors today of wood chips as another idea to try to dry up that top.
Yeah. Is the brush piles that you have on site, would that be sufficient to chip them up?
Probably. If I had a tub grinder or something like that, we've looked at that, but I've not done anything as far as actually securing one.
Well, you know, the city, you know, gets things and grinds up all, you know, chips up all sorts of green material. And so, and they oftentimes don't know what to do with it and where to take it. And even just tree companies, trimming companies have tons. I mean, I've gotten big, huge piles of that for my house for free. And so it just seems like you could work out something with the cities to bring some of those chips to the landfill to use somewhere.
I'm sorry, I have a question. Maybe I missed something. I used to be a COO of an engineering firm, and one of our divisions was managing landfills. So I am familiar with that. My question is, do they not have a stormwater pollution prevention plan, an engineering firm that they work with that provides them with all these ideas? Like why, I mean, everyone has a sweepie when they're doing building projects. Why do they not have a sweepie?
If I may,
Please.
that is a required plan, but it is not the same as the road issue. The road issue, where the mud gets on the trucks, I think is a couple of the commissioners have mentioned, it's up on top where the mud is very thick and there's no permanent dump pad. So everything's in temporary form. So the stormwater issue is about stormwater flowing off the site or off the main working areas into surrounding ponds. This is slightly different because it doesn't really have anything to do with stormwater discharge. It's just the lack of some kind of established gravel geogrid material up on the top access road so that as the trucks come up onto the top and then back out off the top, they're not going through washout dips and picking up more and more mud. It's just a separate section at the top unrelated to stormwater ponds and unrelated to their slip. I hope that helps.
Chris, did you have your hand up a minute ago?
Yeah, I had mentioned tub grinding that debris at the bottom instead of burning it like last time. And I believe that this gentleman told me it wasn't suitable, was your argument. Nor was it cost effective. I think it's both.
Larry, what do you think?
Well, it's gonna take the cooperation of Republic to help us with this. Again, the Solid Waste Commission depends on them to manage and work the landfill at the end of the day. Whether we get mulch brought in from other vendors, the city, the county has a place to go dump it, using that. I can't emphasize, we can't fix the world tonight, but we need to have a fix for tomorrow for dumping up there. Cause they may be in this site that they're dumping till Friday and have to move down the ridge to another one.
It's only, what, 50 yards from the haul road coming in any direction they're moving it this.
But I think correct me, Dave or Teresa, when you move, you have to move to a spot that has the correct elevation to work with, correct? Right down temporary? When you move, you dump spot,
Yeah, we have to move to a place that has actual fill to fill.
that has settled over time.
I have airspace, yes.
Yeah, they have to uncover that particular site and move over there. And again, depending on the volume that comes in, how much time they're gonna spend right there and before they have to go. And again, we're waiting on the permit mod to come in. Once that goes, this is not a 30-day fix. This is not a 30-day fix. But it's a start. And it's gonna have to start with Republic. It's gonna have to start with our commission, pushing this through for whatever it takes.
So we got geogrid, we got mulch coming in, we got litter fencing up. Any other recommendations between now and the workshop?
A lot of gravel.
A lot of gravel.
I just want to step back to what she was saying about the stormwater pollution prevention plan. Can you all confirm that the discharge points are meeting the requirements?
Yes, we have a SWIP in place and we test it quarterly.
Okay, it's quarterly? Is it tested after significant rain events?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're gonna meet for a workshop on January 9th to have an update for the cost and location of cameras, how the geotech is doing, how the more gravel and how the mulch is doing. That work?
Is that a 4 o'clock
Yes.
meeting?
It'll be at the county office building at 4 o'clock.
Excuse me,
Yes, ma'am.
at what point is this solid waste commission going to put them on notice to get something concrete done? I mean, I've been attending the meetings forever, and it's like I said, like Groundhog Day. You know, we hear about the solutions, we hear about this, we hear about that, but there's never any concrete action in writing to say, we want something done, and we want it done by X amount of time. And you've done that in the past with issues that were outstanding, and it got their attention, and they took care of the problem. And I think we're at that point, that something has to be done, something in writing, and not just a bunch of talk.
And I have a 6-page report here that they will get that has all the issues and our requested resolution to each issue.
So at some point in the near future, you're going to put them on notice that they have to actually do something and not hear about, you know, if it hadn't been for the delay or this or that. All I hear is a litany of excuses.
Ms. Murphy, is this report from my visit in November the same thing as putting them on notice?
It depends on what you are putting them on notice of. I don't think I heard a motion tonight to do anything other than, I think the plan is to do the workshop, but I don't know that you're really formally putting them on notice. Informally, sure. But there's no intended action that I heard tonight other than the workshop. And if I missed something, please correct me.
So,
Chris has got his hand up.
Yes, sir.
The day after the TDEC meeting, TDEC issued a notice of violation for the mud on the road.
Mm-hmm.
And they requested a definitive solution to the problem. Has that been answered to TDEC yet by Republic?
I just looked that up and it said it was transferred from the Stormwater Division to the Solid Waste Division. That's the only update I saw here on the data.
Dave should have the answer. He's the one responsible for the solution. They said they want a solution, not a sweeper, swishing mud around. They wanted a definitive solution is exactly, I think, how it reads. Do we have a solution?
What's the latest on that?
That there has been a submittal to TDEC. I have not seen it.
Okay.
One thing I will add, Adam, Ms. Hunter is correct. This commission put Santec on a 30-day notice over the same issue, called it a breach of contract. And we got the article, and they have 30 days to show that they fixed it. Now, is it 100% fixed? They've made an improvement. It's got better by a little. And that's what happened the last time. We put them on notice. They corrected the problem. Of course, they had a lot of dry weather went along with that. So naturally, fixed itself. And as I stated earlier, since 2007, this issue has been going down the road just like a basketball.
I saw minutes from a county commission meeting the other night from 1994 that
I
addressed this
actually
issue.
have the contract now. So, they had problems in 1994 even, before we even started to address it. But as far as putting them on notice, I mean, I'm gonna go with my fellow commissioners up here, and you're right, Pat, you're right. It's something firm, that if we put them on notice, they gotta show improvement. Does it show a permanent fix? Bill?
I agree with what Pat said. I mean, they can sit here and say they're gonna get mulch and they're gonna get rock, when that ain't gonna happen. I think there should be a timeline on this to say, we're gonna have this done in a certain amount of time, instead of just dragging this out and say, we're working on it, we're working on it. That's what's been going on now. We need to sit and say, we're gonna have this rock and this stuff down at a certain time, instead of just saying, I'm gonna do it. That's not good enough.
Pat, do you still have that article there that come out of?
I have it at home, yeah.
It's Article 5, I think.
Oh, the Article 5?
Yeah.
it's a process of doing something on notice. Do we just say something?
5.7,
What?
5.7.
And that's their obligations, right, from the original contract?
Yeah, it's in the second
Second
amendment.
amendment.
Oh,
also.
second amendment.
Yes.
It is on page 5 of the second amendment. The agreement is hereby amended by attaching exhibit G to the second amendment. as Exhibit G to the agreement. Section 5.7 of the agreement is amended herein by deleting the entirety of 5.7 and substituting in lieu thereof of the following. And the second amendment is what replaced the 5.7 in its entirety. So it's on page 5 of the second amendment.
Is Elizabeth, has she looked at that?
Ms. Murphy, do you have that in front of you?
I'm pulling it up right now.
Thank you.
What is the question on the table about that language?
Whether the commission puts them on a 30-day notice, a breach of contract, according to the article.
Whether we can or not?
Yeah.
Are we allowed to put them on notice based on
Well,
5.7?
whether it's in your contract or not, you're always under any contract allowed to put someone on notice to say, I think you're breaching your contract. That's standard. That's not, you don't need a contract
Okay.
provision to keep you that way.
So how do we just say, we're putting you on notice for 30 days to get something, a plan or something done, or, I mean, do I need to make a motion to do this, or tell me how to do this, because I don't want to, but I feel like, and it is right, enough is enough, and I just get really frustrated that we hear, and I go and I see what they're trying to do, and it's not working, and it's and so why are you not doing something that works? And that's the big question to me. Yes.
I'm sorry, I would just like to ask, as a taxpayer of this county, that the commission make a motion and an approval tonight to hold Santec Republic in violation of contract. It's not like they need more time to study this. From what I've heard, this has been a 30-year issue. So I would respectfully ask, and I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job, Adam,
No.
but I would respectfully ask that this commission vote tonight to hold Republic Santec Republic in violation of their contract with fees and fines and penalties up to the standards allowed in the law immediately tonight. And then, to my point, it's a 30-year problem. They don't need more time. So this frustration I think everybody in this room has of saying, well, let's come up with a plan. We don't need another plan. They've had 30 years to come up with a plan. It's time to take action, in my opinion, to say the fines start now because you're in violation, and you've been in violation for 30 years. So please take action tonight so that we're not talking about this in January and February and March, et cetera, et cetera. That's
And if I could add to that, I think Teresa made his point. They don't have people who want to work to clean up the trash.
I was talking about
So-
temp labor,
So
my
any kind of
employees
labor, so
want
that
work.
is concerning to me that they're gonna expand a landfill where they can't get workers. Is that because they're not paying them enough? Is that because the work's too dirty for them?
I'm gonna clarify, I was talking about temporary labor to pick up litter.
But it shouldn't be a temporary labor. It needs to be a permanent person out there who's cleaning up the litter, because you have a contract that's permanent that states that you're to clean up a quarter of a mile from the gate in each direction. And you don't do that. And I know that you're not gonna be out there every day. You shouldn't have to be out there every day. I used to run businesses. I know what this is about. So I don't know why you can't find someone to help you. But if you can't find someone to clean up the trash, then how are you gonna find someone to really work in that landfill? And that's concerning to me with regard to the expansion. And to his point, she says, I'm gonna go out there and do it myself. Okay, enough is enough. We're living in a dump on Highway 72. And so I agree with him 100% that it's time to just put the hammer down, because I first had this conversation only a year ago, and I'm tired of it. So there needs to be a solution, and the solution is not her going picking up the trash. The solution needs to be that they need to be held in violation, and then maybe they'll do something.
So Ms. Murphy, someone here needs to make a motion for notice of violation of the contract, and then would they need to include the option of fines, or how would you like that motion to be made?
Well, that's really not up to me.
I just wanna make sure we're doing it right.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, I hear you. I just wanna, let me make a couple points. based on what everyone's just said. The section of the contract that Ms. Hunter mentioned, we did paragraph 4 that says the old 5.7 section is out and here's the new one. It does take out this whole reasonableness concept, and it just says contractor is responsible for all the compliance and shall maintain and be responsible for litter, runoff, mud, all of it. And so the failure to have the litter fence up, the failure to address mud on the wheels before you even get to the wheel wash, so you have a dual approach as opposed to singular, that's really on them. It also specifies that it's the contractor's obligation to make reasonable efforts to ensure that all traffic exiting the landfill utilizes the wheel wash before coming out on the access road. So to Mr. Hollingshead's earlier comment about asking the commission to participate in banning trucks, I do not see any legal basis or reason for the commission to wade into that. That is up to the contractor entirely. If the contractor feels that that is the only way to achieve the goal, that's on them. So I want to caution the commission about any kind of motion that would have anything to do with that suggestion. So with that said, and I also didn't see anything to the other question that I was asked about whether there was a provision that required the commission to put the contractor on notice. I think you want to do that anyway. First of all, you don't have to have a specific provision allowing you to, but before you contend this is a violation of the contract, a breach, actionable litigation, etc., I think you want to identify the dates of the violations and identify the number of them in the last 6 months or year or time frame that you want to specify. And a motion could be made to put those dates together, collect all that information as support for the determination that the contract has been breached and is currently being breached with regard to the obligations in paragraph 4, A and B, which substitutes for section 5.7 of the original agreement, and that it is within the power of the commission to fine the contractor and discuss an amount and go from there. I'm not sure you have to finalize the count tonight, but I think the motion is better and more supported if you can put all the dates in there, which I think you have plenty of it. I'm not sure that you have it all in front of you right now.
We have it.
Well, just out of respect, in the packet tonight, now this says November of 2023, I'm assuming that's 2024, and that's just a typo. But there are at least 5 violations for mud on the road in the packet tonight. So if you need information to validate it, it's in the packet for tonight.
And my count was 7, going back into September. So, I can give you the dates I've got in front of me, and you all can look at what you've got and just compare notes. I'm not suggesting the matter be delayed, I just want it to be accurate so that your motion carries with it some factual support. I've got September 25th, 26th, and 30th, and I've got November 7, 14, and 19, and I've got December 19th. I've got 7 there, I don't know if there's more after the 19th of December.
We filed a complaint yesterday.
Or I have nothing in October.
18th.
The 18th.
So am I hearing Elizabeth correctly? We need to go ahead and make the motion and compile our documentation to reason why, in case pushback comes down the road. Is that correct, Liz?
Yes, sir. I would make sure I included all the facts and information that you have today that support your conclusion.
Would that not include some of the public, comments, pictures, and information that come to this commission? Will that be acceptable?
Yes, sir. I would put that in there as well, since that's part of what you're discussing.
With that being said, Adam, I'd like to make a motion to put them on notice. Breach of contract, mud in the road. And I really want to concentrate on mud in the road at this point in time with this motion.
Second.
Up for discussion, do you want to include dates, like Ms. Murphy recommended that we just discussed?
Yes,
So include the 8 dates since the 18th.
plus additional.
Yeah,
Any other public contributions?
Yeah.
Anything else that needs to be added, Ms. Murphy?
I didn't hear what Ms. Brown said. Could you repeat it?
I just said including any other of the public contributions that have been given to the commission.
Here's pictures from Mr. Byers on the 17th.
You know,
Um,
I don't, is that December 17th?
Here's December 13th, correct, yes.
September
Yeah, I
30th.
don't have those on my list, so yes.
We have September 30th on the list.
Okay.
Here's the 10th of December.
Okay, this will be captured in the minutes, right?
Yeah. That's just going back through.
Well, just with that
Right.
information.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bad. This is bad, and we need to put a stop to it.
You can clarify in your motion that they're putting them on notice for an alleged breach from point in time to point in time, and that you're reserving the right to identify violations from an earlier point than, say, September 1 or September, whatever date you want to put on that, so you're not trying to collect everything in one moment, but I just reserve that option because under contract law, you have far more than a year or two to bring up the violations.
Well, September 25th was the first date you gave us, so I think the time period is September 25th through today. And then we reserve the right to go backwards. Does that work?
So,
That's what I'm referring to,
Yes.
just put specific timeframes on it and then reserve your right.
so does that need to be reworded?
So do you want Larry to reword his motion?
Or maybe, Gary, have you pulled all this together yet?
I'm trying.
He's still recovering from his illness.
But I think Larry, you're talking about something fairly simple to put them on notice of violating section 5.7 revised via paragraph 4A and B of the second amended during the time frame of September 25th to the present, reserving rights for earlier and other violations. Something in that vein.
That's my motion.
I like it,
Very
I'll
well
second
played.
that.
Very eloquent, Larry.
Thank you.
It's on camera.
Part of
Is there, and you second to that?
Yes, I second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Anything else to discuss mud?
I just hope to see an improvement, that's all I can say.
We all
Well,
do.
should we say, there's a penalty of fines, or do we just, some kind of response?
How would we go about implementing fines, Ms. Murphy?
Someone would have to make a motion to, just as a protocol for everyone's benefit, it might be useful to require first a report from them paragraph 4B of the second amended, which talks about the contractor's obligation to visually inspect landfill, bar area, access roads, and debris reports submitted at least monthly. That is complying with section A and B. And ask for a very specific report about compliance with paragraph 4A and B. An update.
Can I ask a question on these fines? We put them on notice, got 30 days to see an improvement. If that 30 days expires and no improvements, maybe that'd be the next level then, rather than now.
I think you have the right to do that, and at that point,
What you
you
say?
can review whatever they've submitted to you and see if it's going where you want it to go. The point of all this, obviously, the end result is to avoid liability and risk to the commission for the acts of Republic. They have their view, you have a different one, so I would say fines could definitely be the second part before anyone takes it to a farther step. You're looking for a cure, you're looking for corrective action, not for the dispute.
So can we ask for a report per 4B by January 6th to review at our workshop on the 9th?
You're already entitled to it, but I would clarify that that would go a long distance to helping the commission determine what the next steps are or should be. So you're working off of facts and you're working off of current information about what they're doing, what they've provided after this meeting occurred tonight, between now and your next workshop.
And so any information, we said that it was, the timeline was starting in September to present, but I think it should be anything that also, I mean, I'm adding to this, so sorry, but adding anything that comes up before the next workshop. I mean, because the same thing could be going on, and if we have that recorded, that should be included in the discussion.
I would like a report pursuant to 4B by January 6th, so we can discuss it at the workshop on the 9th.
Yeah. And then what we should.
Ms. Ross's point, it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other. If there's more after tonight, 2 or 3 more, or there's not 2 or 3 more, the point is, if they're violating the contract, a mid amount, a little more than a mid amount, a whole lot, it's still a breach.
Okay.
So you can reserve your rights, add more before you ever take any more aggressive action. You're not precluded from anything.
Okay.
If you just leave the motion the way it is.
Okay. Thank you.
January 6th report, we'll discuss this more on the 9th. Let's go back to the audit language there for future events. Has everybody had a chance to review that change to the audit, future events paragraph? That's all the mud discussion, if anybody else wants to leave. But you're welcome to stay till the end, we're about done, so. Yes, Chris?
Have you heard anything about the migratory bird situation?
When I talked to USDA last, they said they migrate this time of year.
I just sent you some more pictures where there's one above the house.
So that was from October. So they said they usually migrate in November.
I just sent you another one of last week. There's 2 or 3 different, those
Hold
are
on.
different dates. Some are in October, some are in November. I've got one from Jeff Bennett, a neighbor. They're sitting on his dock, they're pretty bad. Let's see what the date is on that one. Yeah, it's-
October 2nd, October 3rd, November 21st. Then let me call USDA and see if they want to come talk to us, maybe at the workshop about it then. Because they told me they'd migrate and come back in March, so that's why I was kind of.
They migrated from my dock to the landfill and back.
And I'll talk to USDA and ask them to come speak at the workshop then.
So that non-native kind, do they migrate?
I don't know my buzzards, that's why I'm having USDA come,
We've got them down there.
so.
You got one, your dog.
Are you saying that they migrate away from our area?
That's what USDA told me, I'm not a buzzard or
He
an
lives
expert.
on the bend, Jameson lives on the bend, he lives next door.
I can get you pictures weekly. if
I
that's
believe you.
helpful.
I'm gonna ask USDA to come on January 9th to discuss
That'd be
buzzards.
I think
So-
there's I think there's supposed to be a non-native
Doesn't mean
species
other
that's
ones aren't
They don't
here
migrate very
that
far.
might not migrate, but,
Yeah.
and that's what I was
He
curious.
enlightened me
They migrate all over
on
the
the
damn
different
place.
types.
Yeah,
There was a red face, a black face, and a green face, so, but
it's a black
that's
face.
about as much as I remember. He said the black ones are nice.
Yeah, they're the ones I think that are the non-native,
And that's the ones that we have.
and that's the one you have, okay.
So a motion to approve the audit with that updated future events language. This is the 2023 audit.
So I'll make a motion that we approve this.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Last thing is the report from Republic for December. Are there any questions for Republic on that? Y'all good? Action items, cameras for the workshop, calendar for the workshop, your report from January 6th for the workshop. Anything else for the workshop? I'll take a
Did
motion.
the commission require a report from Republic in advance of the workshop on the update of the roads? Is that clear?
That's the January 6th, yes. So I want it by January 6th so we can review it before our workshop on the 9th.
Okay, thank you, that's what I didn't recall.
We get their response. They've got that issue with TDEC, that TDEC.
I just looked, I've not seen it uploaded yet, so I'll make sure as soon as I have it from TDEC, y'all will get it. Motion to adjourn, anybody?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Everybody
Merry
have a good night.
Christmas, everybody.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you.
You're welcome,
Bye.
thank you.
Gonna go
That
drink it?
job.
Hey, Chris.
That was in a